Hello, hello. This is Gina Dallison, and this is episode 18 of Healing Vibrations. And this is the broadcast where we aim to change the perspective of illness to see if we can see it as a gift. And today I'm really excited to be joined by Elisabeth Ottestad, who is somebody else that is living with multiple sclerosis. She is not using any long-term drug therapy, modifying therapy. She is using some medication to help her various symptoms. She also has a background in psychotherapy, which she's found really useful to manage the way she feels and thinks about her MS. So thanks, Elisabeth, for joining us here today, and welcome, and tell us a bit about yourself and your MS journey, I guess.
Well, thank you. It's great to be here. I'm in Norway. I'm talking to you from Norway.
Wow.
My mother was English, my father Norwegian. I grew up in Norway. Most of my life I've spent here in Norway. My journey started in 2007. I got optic neuritis. Went to the eye infirmary in the UK. Actually, I was on holiday. And the doctor sent me home and on a journey, to find out if I had MS. It was a big shock, obviously. It felt like falling into a big black hole, but I managed to crawl out of that hole again.
So how old were you then?
Oh God, that's a difficult question. Well, that would be 15 years ago, so 42.
So you're in sort of early 40s. So what was going on in your life then? What was how was your life going up until that point?
Well, I was in a bad marriage, had been for quite a few years. I was also doing my psychotherapy training, 3-year, well, I have this pattern of attracting narcissists in my life. So I've always been the empathetic, kind, loving, understanding person, and just totally not taking care of myself in any way, just because I felt that I had to take care of other people, and some of those people were narcissists.
And really took advantage of that.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So that's a lot of the source of my stress. The stress in my life has been that, and patterns that were not very useful. So that has been very much my journey to unlearn these patterns. And in that sense, I would definitely say that my MS has been a gift.
So do you
have a much better life?
Yeah. So do you think the MS then sort of triggered you to look at all those patterns and to?
Very much so. And I managed to get out of my marriage also, because I started thinking, okay, if I'm going to survive this, I have to take care of myself.
That's a big one, isn't it?
Yeah, and my husband was not really, I mean, he would talk about, oh yes, we need to take care of you, and you need to do what's right for you and all that, but that was just words. It didn't really mean it very deeply. So I just
I can resonate with that a bit, I have to say.
Yeah, I know a lot of people do. Yeah. But anyway, I was took 2 years before my diagnosis was through.
Wow.
And it was quite a journey, that part. A lot of fear, but at the same time I was doing my psychotherapy education, so I was also working through my fear.
Right, that's really interesting. So because for me, when I was coaching or when I was learning how to be a coach, part of it is like you sort of have to go through your own stuff before you can coach anyone else. So is that the same when you were doing the psychotherapy stuff?
That's right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely. So you were doing the right thing, really. you're in the right place to get through.
Yeah. So I also decided that I didn't want to go the medicine way. I thought I would have to be much worse to accept taking medication.
Okay.
Like you mentioned, I do take some like antispasm medication to sleep, for example, and some nerve medication, but none of that other heavy stuff. And I decided that very early on. I was also, when I started with my psychotherapy education before the optic neuritis, we were told that there's so many physical illnesses that are have their basis in psychological problems, you know. So that was also kind of a gift. I was allowed to really work with this, you know. Can I resolve my issues to avoid taking medication, which I did basically.
So because I sort of think about it as like almost unwrapping the gift, isn't it? It's like you've got this gift that you didn't want, let's face it, nobody wants it, but then it's the unwrapping of the gift that really, and I don't know what you think, but I certainly think that it's a bit of a lifelong unwrapping. You might get to a certain point and feel like you plateau for a bit, and then there'll be other layers. You get triggered again with something else. You'll notice another pattern re-emerging. I thought I'd done that one. And it comes back in and saying, there's a little bit more. There's a little bit more.
Well, I think that's creation, isn't it? I mean, we're always just renewing and creating and changing, and you know.
Well,
that's what I hope anyway for the rest of my life, that nothing will become static.
Well, no, it isn't. And I think, and again, what I've been learning about is that you're right, nothing stays the same. We are continually changing. Our cells are rejuvenating, aren't they? They reckon every 7 years we've got a whole new body or whatever it is. Right, yeah. But we're choosing almost to follow the same patterns until we become more aware. And I think it's the awareness piece that actually MS certainly did for me, started opening my eyes and my mind a bit more to what is within our control.
Well, awareness has been a very big thing for me too. I mean, I started reading, many of you might be familiar with Thich Nhat Hanh, Vietnamese Buddhist monk who had a center in France. A very, very lovely man.
So could you say his name again, please?
Thich Nhat Hanh.
Well, what we'll do is I'll put a link to it in the little bio section that we so people can have a look if they want to.
He passed away just a couple of months ago. He was I think 96 or something like that. Amazing person. He talked about mindfulness, not using the word mindfulness. It was meditation, but being mindful about how you open and close the door, and you know,
everything.
So he was a big influence in my life from the early 90s, I guess. And
so how did you come across him then? Was that
I was living in Ontario and in Canada, and I picked up a book in the library there.
So just inspired to.
Ended up reading all his books, and I found a teacher in Norway, in Oslo, who had been his student.
Nice.
So that was a good journey, really. So I also had that when I got my diagnosis. I had meditation and awareness, mindfulness.
So because mindfulness is something that I've been learning, but this has been part of my journey as well, but I'm still practicing, I guess. I'm still aiming to be there, because it does feel like sometimes life is very, and how do we slow it down? And it is through mindfulness, isn't it?
It is. And like you were just saying, we never reach an end point. I mean, nobody is totally mindful all the time.
No,
Ever.
we can. So is there one little practice that you found really helpful on the whole mindfulness journey, that you could maybe share with us right now that we could add into our everyday living?
Well, I think what is very important is being in your body, because the stress in our lives, it all happens, it's all from our head, you know, worries and time pressure and all this, right? So if I notice that I'm a bit stressed, doing things quickly, trying to finish things, you know, I'll just stop and breathe. Just take 3 deep breaths and sink my awareness into my feet, feel my feet.
That's cool, and that's something I have been trying to do more. So thank you for sharing that, because I'll try a bit harder, because of course try is one of those words that I'm also trying to alleviate from my
Yes.
because yeah, there is no try, is there? According to Yoda, I think that was, there is no try. We either do or we don't do.
Yeah, I think any change that we want to see in our lives has to start with awareness, because we have to know what we're doing before we can change it.
Yes.
And this awareness or mindful attitude of accepting that things are the way they are before you try to change it, I think is important. Just observing. And many people would say that saying to yourself, oh, I shouldn't do that, I should do it this way, or I should do it that way, is a kind of violence towards yourself. Yeah. Because you're
another word.
You're not good enough, right? The way you are.
Yeah.
So having the foundation of being good enough, everything's okay right here, right now. And I often say that to people that ask for my help. They're often caught up in some drama, either from the past trauma or present, you know, relational difficulties. I'll say, right here, right now, you're sitting here with me. Isn't everything okay? And they'll say, well, yes, you know, it's just when I start thinking about ABC, right?
Yeah.
That things are not okay.
And it is interesting, isn't it? Because when we start thinking of that, whatever it is that's causing us stress or tension, then, and I guess this is the law of attraction thing, then brings us more to be stressed and anxious about. So it's very easy to, once you start thinking about something, to get down into that spiral of like, oh my God, everything in my world is going wrong.
That's right. Yeah.
So by practicing being mindful and like you say, getting into this space of actually right here, right now, I'm all right. Yeah. Everything is good. Is nice.
There's an author that I really appreciate. He's called Rick Hanson, American psychiatrist. I'm not quite sure, but he has this practice that I find wonderful. He talks about the negative bias. So apparently, as humans, we have a 20% negative bias, and that is our survival mechanism.
Yeah.
Because we survive because we're scared, or we're, you know, careful or watchful, right? Like he says, the human that stood admiring the sunlight on the leaves was eaten by the tiger, right? So a 20% negative bias is quite a lot. So our mind just goes to that negative.
What could go wrong? What do I need to look out for?
He has another expression. Our mind is like velcro for the negative, and Teflon for the positive.
Wow, yeah, that's quite interesting. Quite like that one. I'm going to write that one down. Yeah, so that's
Yeah. And
Velcro for Velcro for negative.
Teflon for
Teflon, yeah,
positive.
nice.
And the practice that he teaches is when you experience something positive, for example, a sunset, or you see an animal or something, and what we normally do is, oh, that's beautiful, what should I have for dinner, you know? So if we can realize that we're experiencing a good moment, that's the first thing, right? Wow, yeah. I'm lucky.
Again, it brings it back
actually,
to awareness, doesn't it? That actually, yeah, this is good.
This is a good moment, and then expand it. So you really sink into that good feeling of that moment that can become 2, 3, 4, 5 moments.
Yeah.
You know, without clinging to it, because then you're also into the negative. I don't want this to go away, you know.
Right. But if you use your example of a sunset, because we can see it, and sometimes it is glory enough to sort of stop you in your tracks a little bit, doesn't it? And really, wow, that is a particularly amazing. But then I suppose by expanding the moment, it's then getting into your body and recognizing that actually this feels good. It's not only just a visual thing, but actually the sensations of seeing something beautiful and amazing, because sunsets really are, aren't they? They fill the whole sky. They're so expansive. They give us ideas that, you know, there's an ending and then there's a beginning, and nature's bigger than us, and all that sort of expansive good feelings.
That's right.
Yeah. And that doesn't have to take very long. You don't have to stand there for hours and hours, do you?
No.
Although you do want to sometimes, but it's just actually, yeah, let's take on all our senses. Let's fill it in our body. Yeah. And take that moment with us as part of, yeah, like you say, it's and does he say anything else? Because you talk about the 20% negative, because I like to practice at the end of the day, looking back and drawing out, you know, what I've achieved, the good things, those moments, like you said, because it's all too easy to get to the end of the day. God, I still haven't done this, I still haven't done this, this needs doing, that needs doing, and actually recognize that, you know, our days are full. We do amazing things. We have beautiful moments like you just described. And let's go to sleep remembering the good stuff rather than all the things that we haven't done and what went wrong.
Yeah. Well, it's back to awareness, right? I mean, even people are lucky if they see a beautiful sunset, right?
Definitely.
But there are everyday things that you can seek out. I mean, tasting something good and really savoring it, for example, you know, or looking into the eyes of a child passing in the street. Just little things like that are little gifts in our everyday lives.
Well, and we've just, my youngest son for his birthday wanted some guinea pigs, so we've just got guinea pigs in the house, and they're just such a gorgeous distraction, because they're quite little babies still, and they're just finding their feet, and they're, you know, we're getting them used to, and it's just, yes, it's a nice mindful way of spending a couple of moments just connecting with an animal, I guess. It's been really nice. So it's definitely a nice addition. Yeah. So what do you do now? Because I must say you've got a really nice calming presence. So I'm a little bit full on, and I'm feeling myself getting more grounded just being in your presence right now. So thank you for that. It's nice. It's lovely and calming. I'm sure everybody else will think that as well. So it's a beautiful space to be in, and recognize we don't have to go 100 miles an hour. In fact, quite the opposite. If we can slow our life down a little bit, then we've got more chance of recognizing those good moments, like you say, and spotting the child playing in the street, or connecting with somebody, you know, as you pass them by, and actually feeling a real connection rather than just head down and I'm doing what I'm doing. Yeah,
because it's a question of depth, right? depth in life. And even, for example, relationships can be so wonderful because others are mirrors to us, right? Like you and I are now, we're mirrors to each other. As long as it's honest, as long as we can be ourselves.
Honesty is a massive part of, certainly been a massive part of my journey. And I think what you said earlier about is getting honest with where you are right now, being aware of it, but also being, honest to yourself and saying, well, it's not a judgment thing. It doesn't have to be good or bad.
No.
It just is. And actually, if there is something that I can take out of it, something that's going to make me feel better, what can I take from it?
Yeah. This thing about right and wrong is, there are not many things in this life that are definitely either right or wrong. It's all shades of gray, right?
Definitely. And I've been doing some work recently just about the language that we speak and the idea of what is our truth. Because I don't know about you, but when I got diagnosed, I was told by my neurologist that, there was no cure. It was probably going to get worse. And then there was nothing that I could do about it. But then I find out that's not actually true for everybody. But it's not like my neurologist was lying to me.
No.
Because that was her truth from her experience and her training and all the rest of it. So it's quite easy to take on other people's truths as our own if we don't get really honest with where we are and what our, again, it's back to the awareness. What are our beliefs? What do I believe about this situation? Do I want to believe this? Is this going to help me move forward to where I want to be going?
Yeah, definitely. And also, not like you're saying, just not making your neurologist a bad person or wrong or stupid or something, just being aware of everything that's going on inside you and between you. And one thing that a practice that I've had since I studied psychotherapy is working with the shadows. And this is a very interesting process. Whenever I catch myself being hurt by someone or reacting with some negative emotion, I'll feel the emotion in my body, because emotions are important information for our life, our everyday life. But I realize that this person is pressing buttons that are already there, right? And this is an opportunity for me to heal some part of myself.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that all button pressers are good, positive, or they have their stuff. I have my stuff and they have their stuff, right? So, but it's an opportunity to learn more about myself, learn more about life, and just never sort of saying, or almost never saying, that's bad or that's wrong, but just letting it, work inside me, and then think, oh, that's interesting. That's,
Yeah, so it's almost like being a curious observer as opposed to being the judger of like, that's a bad thing and that's a that's a good thing. And I think that's definitely been a big learning for me, is recognizing that actually when we think things or immediately like, that's bad, that's something unwanted, that's almost the time to, okay, this could be the best thing ever if we allow, again, the gifts, the unwanted gifts that just keep giving, and but recognizing that actually they are there to show us things. Our challenges in life are there to help us grow. Because if life was just an absolute breeze, we'd be bored.
That's right. Yeah. There would be no contrast.
Right? And that's where the growth comes in, the learning comes in. And Yeah, we don't want to stay in one space forever. As human beings, that's not what we're designed to do, is it?
No, that's not. And I'm really fortunate to have good friends who I can say to them, okay, what you just said now bothered me. So I'm working on that now. Could you help me?
Yeah.
I felt that because I felt so and so because of, but maybe it has something to do with blah blah blah, and so I'm really lucky that I can do that. But that it's you have to be able to be honest with each other. It has to go both ways, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that comes from because I've got some friends like that as well, and it's a real conscious conversation, isn't it? Rather than going, in the previous life, I would have just got angry. There would have been a big fight up. There would have been, you've done this, blame, blame, blame. But this actually takes responsibility. You take your responsibility for your stuff, and hopefully they can do the same for their stuff.
It's
and
so
actually,
important. Yeah.
it's then you have a real enlightening conversation about, oh, okay, this is interesting, and how did that trigger it?
Yeah. And sometimes it's very uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yes.
The process, when you get through, it's like feeling liberated in a way.
Well, was it Brené Brown that says something like, if you can sit in something like 8 seconds of discomfort, then that's as much as it takes. It sort of it alleviates. But we don't want to be uncomfortable. My kids call it, that's just awkward, Mum. No, I don't want to do that. It's like, well, yeah, sometimes you have to have awkward conversations.
That's right. Daring to have those conversations.
Yeah,
because emotions are just biochemical processes in your body, right? So an emotion, fear, for example, will pass very quickly. I don't know about 8 seconds, but no more than a minute.
Emotions, I'd heard it was 90 seconds.
90 seconds, that's right.
90 seconds, yeah. So actually, if you allow just a pure emotion to be in your body and throw through you in 90 seconds, it's gone. So if you can sit with it for that long, and knowing that's actually, right. An emotion's not... Sorry, you go.
Yeah, and don't attach a thought to it, because the thought just keeps it alive, the emotion.
Yeah, and I think it's that thing. So if there's people out there who've not done this sort of work before, it does take a little bit of practice, doesn't it? And it's quite helpful to work with somebody like Elisabeth. So do you practice as a psychotherapist now?
I do, not a lot, but as long as I can have decide my own schedule, my own time.
And that works for you.
Yeah.
And that's that type of, and that's the sort of stuff we do coaching as well. It's just recognizing that you can have the power to look at your emotions in a different way. I think that's what it is. It's changing your relationship with how you feel, with your body, with everything. And I think that's
fascinating.
Yeah, it is. And it's very much like we said, a never-ending journey. But the further you get into it, I think the more it's liberating. I think you said that earlier as well. It is because you recognize actually we do have the power inside of us to make changes. And what are your thoughts around physical sort of expressions in our bodies, the symptoms that we experience being as a result of like maybe unresolved emotions or traumas and things like that?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a big
That's a big one.
Question. Yeah. I think how a lot of people have problems getting into their body because they're in their mind all the time. And they have to learn to get into their bodies. But it's a very, very general problem. But I find that with my symptoms, I'm taken into my body all the time.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I'm maybe hyper aware of what's happening in my body.
So do you find that your symptoms flare up if you're, they're triggered by certain things? Have you noticed?
Definitely if I'm stressed.
I think stress is a real big one, isn't it?
Yeah. Also, if I've done too much and it could be something fun, if I go for too long of a walk, or, do physical movement that is too much, or have a wonderful day with friends that it just lasted too long, then
Right. Okay. Yeah.
symptoms. Yeah. But this thing about the connection between trauma and symptoms, or trauma and sickness, I'm sure there is a connection, but it's a minefield,
Yeah, they're quite deep rooted, isn't it?
Yeah, if you have the foundation that I'm okay, right? And live with awareness, then you can go into that minefield, because you don't want to be feeling that it's my fault, or if I can just resolve this, or I should have done something about this before I got sick, I should have, all this kind of stuff.
So, and I think that's part of the awareness, isn't it? Almost noticing how you think about things, and just reframing. It could be as simple as just reframing. Well, actually, it's not, I should have known better when I was, 18, or I shouldn't have done that crazy stuff that I did when I was a teenager. It's like, well, we've all done things that maybe we could have done differently, but that's life, isn't it? That's how we learn, and that's how we and even if you've done things differently, who's to say that that's not part of our journey, and we needed that lesson, we needed to have that.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I wouldn't be who I am today if I hadn't made bad choices when it came to men. Right?
Definitely. Yeah. And they're big lessons that you've now taken with you going forward, which is good.
But the thing is, I'm not doing that anymore. So something is healed inside me.
Yeah.
Right? I wouldn't get into that situation again.
So that's like a big awareness piece, isn't it? Of noticing that actually this is a pattern that you've almost attracted in somehow. And again, and that's not a blame thing. Oh God, it's all my fault. I did this to myself. It's just noticing. And with that brings empowerment, I guess. It's like, well, if I know that's why I attracted him, when I didn't notice, when I didn't, when I wasn't aware, then what can I do now I'm aware? And you're just an example of that, exactly.
So I'm all for psychotherapy, obviously. I believe in my
you believe in your craft.
Yes, but there is a but. I don't necessarily think that unless people are carrying serious trauma that is having really bad effect on their life, I would go very carefully. And I think that foundation, safety, being okay with myselfness should be there before we go and open up those wounds.
Any boxes.
And I like working in groups. I've started a new concept here in Norway called wisdom circles. So we get together, women my age, and equal. I'm a moderator, but we use a form of peaceful communication. So we have a talking stone, and try to bring something new into the world, instead of just talking about the same things over and over again, and making it more general or more, what should I say? Like, how can we change the world? How can we make the world better with this group energy?
Nice.
That is living in us. And of course, we use different meditations, and we're creative. We might paint or do ceramics or something together, and that this group energy is very strong, and it builds itself up because people feel more and more secure in the group, and they start.
So how many people have you got in your group then?
Well, a good group is 8.
Okay, nice. Yeah.
But it could be 6, it could be 10.
Yeah,
12.
depending who can.
Yeah. It depends on the discipline of the people in the group too.
Yeah.
But also this idea that we all have our part. We're all different, and we have different perspectives, and we can together we can create something that is larger than each of us together.
Yeah. So there's some of the what's the quote? There's some of the separates is not as big as the whole.
Yeah.
I can't remember the quote, but it's that idea that actually together we are a lot more powerful than individual. So I won't remember it. The quote will come to me at some point, but that idea, yeah.
And that we also are very aware that if someone in the group says something that we don't like or don't agree with or find stupid or irritating or whatever, this has to do with me.
So would you actually bring that up in the group then, or is that just a personal, okay, I've noticed something, I find that annoying, or that person's triggered me in some way?
There's a openness for people to share it, but we also, you don't want to do that too much because it's you can create drama from it,
Yeah.
But if it's something important, then yes.
Excellent. So how long have you been doing the group?
Well, I've been doing groups on and off for years,
That's
different
something that
settings.
really calls to you.
I also did interfaith dialogue using this dialogue method. So I worked for the National Organization for Interfaith Dialogue in Norway.
Okay.
That was about 10 years ago or something. So on and off, I've had different groups. But what I'm talking about now, the Wisdom Circle, is new. It's only been like 6 months or something.
Okay.
I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, it sounds really interesting. So it's a shame I'm not a little bit nearer to Norway, because I could come and join you. So it's an in-person group, is it? It's not on the wonderful Zoom that we spend our life on. I certainly spend my life on these days. Yeah.
Well, you never know what the future brings.
Well, absolutely. I'll have to put Norway on. Well, Norway's been an interesting country, because isn't that meant to be one of the happiest places to live?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Yeah.
We have a good life in Norway.
Yeah.
We really do. Yeah.
It's quite a beautiful place as well, isn't it? Though everywhere has their beauty. Yes.
That's right. Everywhere has a beauty. The weather in Norway is not wonderful, as everybody knows. But when the sun is shining, it's the most beautiful place in the world, I think.
Fabulous. Yeah. And you also mentioned, because you mentioned quite a few times about meditation, and you said to me earlier that you're also a meditation teacher. So if somebody was have not been meditating before and maybe like the idea of it, what would be a gentle practice to start people off, would you say?
Well, I would say if you want a really, really gentle start, it would be when you're having your morning coffee or morning tea, and just drink that coffee and enjoy it for 5 minutes without
reading your emails or talking to anybody else or watching TV or listening to the radio.
Just sitting and staring into space and being aware of your breath, like the whole breath cycle, breathing in, and then before you breathe out again, there's a little moment there, and breathing out, and then this little moment before you breathe in again. Just being aware of that. And we're all taken by our thoughts, and then being aware that okay, I'm thinking. And then gently bringing your awareness back to the breath. It's a good practice. And even just 5 minutes in the morning will make a difference in your day.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, meditation is something, when I sort of started my healing journey and I came across the work of George Jelinek, I don't know if you come across him, and his Overcoming Multiple Sclerosis. He's got a book, and he suggested a dietary change of, like, it's a plant-based with fish is his sort of thought process. He's got a whole load of evidence that builds it up. He also suggests doing as much exercise as you can to keep your body moving. And then the third thing that I certainly took from it was meditation, to keep the to keep the stress levels down. And out of those three things, the meditation was the hardest thing for me to incorporate. So I managed to change my diet overnight from a meat eater with dairy, and cut those out. And I upped my exercise, although that wasn't too bad anyway. But actually taking just 5 minutes a day when I've got two young boys like running around the house I found it incredibly hard.
Yeah.
But actually, once I decided, I think that's I talk about a lot of intentions now. I'm learning more about the power of intention. And once I actually intended, this is going to be a priority in my life. And interestingly, just told my family, I'm going to just take 10 minutes in my bedroom. Please don't come in because I want a bit of quiet time. That everybody respected. So nobody actually, fought up against it. It wasn't like, oh, you're needed for every second of every day. But it was interesting how that was the most challenging part for me to actually make a change.
Yeah, I know. I have a meditation group that is free once a week in Norway, in person. And people say they'll sign up, or they say, oh yes, I want to meditate. But not many people do.
No.
And it's a strange thing. It really is. But what can I do?
Well, this is it. It has to come from my own experience and own journey. You have to fully commit, don't you? You have to commit to yourself and recognize that actually this is a good thing for you to do. Mm-hmm. And of course, once you start doing it, then you recognize it's a good thing for you to do, and recognize actually if you've had a couple of days or a day or so without it, then actually that can sort of send you off kilter a little bit.
Yeah.
So I would definitely recommend, a meditation practice. Mm-hmm. And you've got something that you're going to take us through, because how I like to end with a meditation or a mindfulness practice. But before we go into that, are you taking on clients? If people wanted to connect with you, can they connect with you at all?
Yes. Send me a Facebook message.
So I'll tag Elisabeth in on in the Facebook, so you can get in touch and go see her if you'd like to. But yeah. Okay.
Just the last thing before I start, I think some of the resistance to meditation has to do with people thinking, oh, I'm useless at this. I can't do this, and there's no truth in that. It's not either you can meditate or you cannot. It's just degrees of peace, and that can be like milliseconds, seconds, depending on the day, night, what's going on around you. You can have some days where your shoulders just sink, and that's just wonderful, and other days where, oh God, your mind's going and you can't calm it down. So it's not an either or. It's practice. It's just coming back to the breath again and again.
And I think sometimes just remembering that actually for this 5 minutes or 10 minutes or however long you don't have to be anywhere. You don't have to do anything. Everything is exactly as it should be right here, right now. And even just that thought is quite calming to, okay, I can take 5 minutes. I can take 5 minutes. Yeah.
And it is an opportunity to come back to yourself. Every time you recognize that you're thinking, and bring your awareness back to your breath, you're coming back to yourself.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Excellent. Go on then.
Okay, so it's best to sit with your hands on your thighs with your palms facing up.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a balancing meditation. It's called the 5-star meditation. So I'll invite everybody to close their eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Find a comfortable position. Feel that you're sitting heavily in your chair. Feel your feet on the ground. And take a couple of deep breaths. Breathing deep into your belly. We're supposed to let our belly expand, not try to keep it in. And then I invite you to move your awareness down to your right foot, to the sole of your foot. And just let your awareness rest there. And then I invite you to move your awareness in a line from your right foot up to your left palm, to a point in the middle of your palm. And then move your awareness from your left palm in a line to your right palm, to a point in the middle of your palm. Now I invite you to move your awareness from your right palm in a line down to your left foot, to the sole of your foot. And then move your awareness from your left foot up to the center of your head. From the center of your head in a line down to your right foot, sole of your foot. From your right foot to your left hand, palm of your hand, to your right palm, down to your left foot, up to the center of your head, and back down to your right foot again. Now I invite you to try to keep all the 5 points in your awareness at the same time. Now you can bring your awareness to your breath, just breathing in and breathing out. And come back to the room again, slowly, gently, moving your fingers and toes. And when you're ready, open your eyes.
Okay, that's very nice. I like the way you gave us lots of space in between your words to bring the awareness. Definitely have a very nice calming energy, which
Thank you.
sending out to everybody. So thank you. That was beautiful, and I've got some real gems in there as well to help people become a bit more mindful, develop a greater awareness, because I think that is the gift. If we start to unwrap it and allow it to to receive it, I guess. Don't be angry at it. It's not necessarily a bad thing.
I agree.
So on that note, I shall leave this episode. Thank you very much. This is Elisabeth. We get your surname right. It's there, Ottestad. Elisabeth with an S, not a Z. So it's slightly different. All the way from Norway. Thank you for sharing your wisdom with us.
Thank you.